So, ladies and gentlemen, Sean McDermott was just at the podium. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's still on the podium over at the NFL Combine. And we have learned quite a bit, not only of signs of what he is going to be looking for during these workouts that are going to be happening here in just a couple of days this week, but also some things toward the back half of the 2024 season, some burning questions like the James Cook contract, whether or not Christian Benford was concussed during this overall situation, some new coaching staffs. And I have boiled down some of the biggest takeaways from this Sean McDermott press conference so we can discuss it together. Folks, if you are new here, my name is Dan Mitchell. I'm an NFL content creator, the biggest Buffalo Bills content creator on the internet across all platforms. And I highly suggest that you like this video, help me out by propelling it out to the YouTube algorithm so more Bills Mafia can discover this, and also subscribe and turn on bell notifications. I can imagine the vast majority of you are watching the replay of this episode. I want you to be a part of my live chat community. So turning on that bell notification will only help you be a part of that experience. I do need to give a giant shout out right to BetUS, guys. They have all of the predictions for where all of these pending free agents are going to be landing at any given moment. And the best part about it is that they have the best promo in the industry. They are currently matching 150% of your first deposit all the way up to $2,000 and 125% of your second and your third, as long as you use code YouTube 150. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this channel. And let's go on ahead and unpack everything and anything that Sean McDermott had to say at the podium. Like I said, he is still currently speaking, at least from what I am seeing. But rather than me playing this episode, I wanted to discuss some of the biggest takeaways. And I would say the biggest takeaway to start off was the whole Matthew Smiley situation. He was our special teams coordinator. And at the end of the season, Sean McDermott said, no, he's safe. We're sticking with Matthew Smiley. And then only 4 or 5 days later, we ended up getting news that we were walking away. He was no longer a part of the organization. And about damn time, right? Like Matthew Smiley was a issue for this Buffalo Bills team, right? Like bottom 5, and I would say most metrics that mattered. Sean McDermott was just recently asked, right? What the hell went on with that situation? What the hell went on with you firing special teams coach Matthew Smiley? And Sean ended up stating that he just needed time to fully evaluate this overall position. Some of us in the comment section might have said, oh, maybe he was urged by Brandon Beane, or maybe he was urged by ownership to pull the trigger, although that he already committed to him during his postseason or after 2024 season press conference. But largely, it probably just had to do with the fact that he had no idea, right? He had to sit back. They had to understand coaching personnel. And ultimately, Matthew Smiley ended up getting the boot. So I was very happy that Sean McDermott was able to shed some further light on this. He's super excited about Chris Tabor. He said that he's looking for someone with experience, and this is the dude that we have been looking for. So I was very happy that Sean McDermott ended up addressing that special teams issue. One of the biggest things, and something I feel like a lot of us have been dominating for the past couple of weeks, is the James Cook contract. Of course, we saw the James Cook contract question come across Sean McDermott, right? And he basically ended up doing his best coaches speak situation. And he looked at said reporter and he said, look, I like looking at this from a coach's perspective. I think that he is a wonderful player and the business is going to work itself out. Now, that had to be one of the most politically crafted statements I think that we could have possibly heard, but I don't think that any of us are surprised by that. I really don't. In my opinion, you've heard me talk about this James Cook situation. We're hearing $15 million. That's what he wants. But I'll tell you what, I don't think that average annual salary is as important to players as the media or what most people will tell you. What is truly important to players is guaranteed money. I'm going to say this. This is my prediction. I think James Cook is going to be around the 11 million per year sort of deal, 4-year contract, and we are just going to slap him with a lot of guaranteed money. And why not be upset about that? Don't be upset about it, because the way that the NFL salary cap is increasing each and every single damn year, 30 plus million, why would you have an issue with that? So far, biggest takeaways, why he ended up firing Matthew Smiley, and then obviously the James Cook situation. As I said with James Cook, he said, quote unquote, a great example of one of the joys of watching a player develop. It's a great feeling as a coach. The business part will take care of itself. Bean is and will be on top of it. Now, next up, finally, some combine talk, ladies and gents. What are the Buffalo Bills looking for? The biggest two narratives is obviously our defensive line and also a wide receiver, a vertical field stretcher. Somebody actually asked Sean McDermott this question. He said, "Hey, Sean, how important is it for you to be able to find a wide receiver that can stretch the field vertically? Is that the type of wide receiver you will be looking for this week at the NFL Combine?" And he had to say this: "I am a believer in that speed, stretching the field both horizontally and vertically. I thought we did that at times this year, but maybe not enough." I think that's a pretty good sign that Sean McDermott is on the exact same page. It is not just Dan Mitchell, the YouTuber. It is not just Joe, John, Jim watching this episode right now, because I know that my audience, much like myself, has been saying the same thing. Speed and vertical separation, a true wide receiver number one off on the perimeter is an absolute necessity. And based off of what Sean said, I'm sure he's probably going to be looking at some mid-round wide receivers at this point. There's no questions about it, right? Especially when we ultimately end up looking at our current wide receiver staff. And no disrespect to any of the wide receivers on this roster in 2024. Again, like I'm going to tell you, this team was lucky enough to be the highest scoring offense in all of the NFL, playoffs included, with the weapons that we had at Josh Allen's disposal. We did not have a single wide receiver over 1,000 yards, and we did not have a guy that could consistently win vertically on that one side. Looking at Sean McDermott's statement, which makes it that much more interesting, has to do with, I thought we did it at times this year, but maybe not enough. All of us were watching our televisions, each and every single one of us, and we were just looking at so many different conversations where we were just like, what is wrong with Josh Allen's deep ball, right? Like, why did Josh Allen's deep ball just not look like it typically does? He was having trouble throwing downfield off on the perimeter. And while I think that we have some players that have some like decent speed, I'd say, for example, Curtis Samuel. I'd say, for example, Shakir's pretty damn fast too. Um, it was largely a Josh Allen chemistry issue. That was my biggest thing that I got out of it. But it's nice to see that Sean McDermott has addressed it. And I think that's a pretty good sign that, yes, he might be looking for a vertical stretcher at this NFL Combine. As many of you know, my personal favorite is Jalen Royals, but that's going to be a video for another time. I can assure you that. And after that question, they started reverting over into some of the current personnel that we have. I think we all remember that at the end of the season, Brandon Beane ended up taking the podium, and he told the world, he was like, look, I was disappointed in Keon Coleman's performance after injury. Well, Sean McDermott was asked about this just a couple of minutes ago. I want to see if that guy's still on the podium. He is no longer on the podium right now. So looks like we have all of the information that we need. Folks, bear with me. Smash that like button, helps out tremendously. But on Keon Coleman, Sean McDermott very much shared the exact same sentiment. He said that he believed that Keon Coleman had an up and down season, and they are looking for him to learn from that and have a solid second season. Now, I've never been one to sound the alarm bells on Keon Coleman for a variety of reasons. Number one, I was one of the few that really thought that he was going to be a wide receiver one in the first place. Number one, our offense led by Joe Brady doesn't necessarily call for a wide receiver number one. It is an everybody eats mentality. I'm sure some of you are cringing when you hear that term come out of my mouth. But if we were looking to replace anybody on this roster, it was a Gabe Davis replacement, right? Because at the end of your game or the final game that you play, it always exposes the biggest weakness that you have at any given year. And that year, it just so happened to be, we had an issue with finding wide receivers that could catch the football, 50-50 guys, right? And I think that Keon Coleman has already been an upgrade to Gabe Davis in that category. as far as a 50-50 guy. We knew that he was not going to be creating any crazy separation, right? Like we knew that. Like guy runs a 4.5, 4.6 40. That's completely fine. There's wide receivers out there that have had great careers there when it comes into it. He was drafted to be that role player for us. And I think that we're still looking for that one more personnel piece, someone that could connect with Josh Allen on the other side, on the opposite side of that wide receiver room, that can win with speed, that can win with route running. Because right now, I like our wide receiver room, but I'm always fine to throw a little cherry on top when it comes down into it. Now, next up, which was a massive question, and I think that this was probably the most telling from Sean McDermott's press conference, right? He was asked, are you trying to emulate anything from the Philadelphia Eagles' success against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl? And he said something intriguing, right? He ultimately ended up saying that defense always starts with a pass rush. What Philadelphia was able to do was very impressive. Each and every single coach has a different mentality on how you build the team defensively, and it's going to range from team to team. But what Philadelphia was able to do was certainly impressive. I can tell you this right now. After hearing what he had to say, listening to his sentiments, all right, listening to his tonality, Sean McDermott is 110%. And Brandon Beane, obviously, since he is involved in this, he is 110% targeting a defensive lineman in the first round. If we have a first round pick, folks, it is going to be a defensive lineman. And I say if, of course, because I still want to entertain everybody saying that we're going to ship a first round over for Myles Garrett. It could be a possibility. But if not, I think that we are looking for a defensive tackle, specifically a one-tech defensive tackle that could be plopped right next to Ed Oliver. And as many of you guys know, I put out a video of one of my personal favorite defensive tackle prospects, Derek Harmon out of Oregon, that is slated to fall to us in most mock drafts. So keep in mind on that one. Once this live stream is over, I highly suggest you go check that out because we unpacked just about everything. Now, current defensive line, obviously, we were asked about Von Miller, right? Everyone's trying to figure out what's happening with Von. Is he retiring? Is he going to take a pay cut? I hope he does, right? Because us convincing him to take a pay cut is surprisingly going to save us even more money than being able to cut him. Because I feel like a lot of people are just like, damn, let's just cut Von Miller, whatever. We could post June 1st cut him, sure. But what's the philosophy and what's the reasoning behind people wanting Von Miller to be gone, right? Largely, it has to do with us trying to create as much money as humanly possible so that we can spend in free agency. If we post June 1st cut him, we're not going to be able to use that money until after June 1st in the first place, meaning that we wouldn't really be able to use it during the heat of free agency. So if we really want to leverage this Von Miller situation, which I know a lot of us want to find a way to get him out of here, it's got to be a pay cut. But regarding Von Miller's future in Buffalo, Sean McDermott had to say this. Love Von. Mentally, he is so elite. I thought this year was a lot better than the year before, and that is what you want to see. Another heavily politicized answer. But again, if I am a gambling man, I can promise you that we will go on ahead and see Von Miller take a cut. Oh, my God. Look at that. Look at that. Now, next up, pretty intriguing. He talked about Dalton Kincaid. Let's see what Sean McDermott had to say about this. Dalton Kincaid is as serious about football and competing as anyone on our team. Part of the reason he had some injuries is because he played so hard at his size. And the most important thing we need to do, and he needs to do, is get stronger to help out with his durability. Man, I'll tell you what, dude. We've been seeing quite a few people sound the alarms for Dalton Kincaid. I've been seeing a lot of, oh my God, he's a first round bust. What the hell did we do about Dalton Kincaid? It sounds like Sean McDermott has provided some pretty interesting insight. This is that dude needs to beef on up. All right. 250 grams of protein a day, start carb loading, hit the weight room, and all will be good. That is for damn sure. Other than that, folks, that is really all that he had to say. We talked quite a bit about what he is looking for at the combine, some of the new coaching moves. He addressed Christian Benford, saying that he did pass the concussion protocol prior to the game. So that was a big thing. Cleared and resumed activities as it related to a football career following concussions. Sounds like Benford is good to go in 2025. No lingering injury that we need to worry about for the beginning of the season. And yeah, that is Sean McDermott, man. We have a lot of very exciting things to unpack here today when it comes into the combine, right, folks? Because now we're getting a good understanding of what some of these prospects are going to look like. So on this part of the show, for anybody that is watching the replay of this, this is where I ultimately end up turning to the live chat. All right. So if you want to be a part of these episodes live, like I said, I'm live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. EST, 5:15 p.m. EST. Turn on those bell notifications so I can answer your question live on air. Shout out to the chat. I really appreciate each and every single one of you for coming in and showing some love. All right. Stephen R. is a massive fan of Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of the University of Texas. And I'll tell you what, I did see one mock draft have us grabbing him at 30th overall. I am not a proponent of going for a wide receiver in the first round, especially when, again, we had the highest scoring offense in the NFL with the wide receiver room that we had this year. So I don't think us spending an asset right in the first round, especially with a wide receiver class that I think I'd say like relatively deep on said wide receiver. So Matthew Golden, maybe say that he drops like right down sort of the second round, which I don't see happening, is what it is. Dan, is there any receiver in free agency outside of Hollywood Brown that is a burner if the Bills don't go receiver early in the draft? But I can't see them not drafting a wide receiver. I think Hollywood Brown's one of the only ones that has youth and that also has the speed that's really standing out to me. I suppose that there are a couple of trade targets, but they would be super expensive, right? Everybody else is probably on the wrong side of 30 or at least creeping on the wrong side of 30, and they have a significant injury history. And by significant, I mean very significant. So not a lot of very speedy wide receivers that I think that would be as good of a fit as far as bang for your buck and or value as Hollywood Brown would be. If our Bills are not getting Miles or Max Crosby, get a defensive tackle and the defensive end first and second rounds. Second rounder, get Cook replacement or DB2. And in the other rounds, plug and play at safety and or linebacker. I mean, guys, listen, we're going to have to do some mock drafts here shortly. I think that we can get that done. 477 of you on X right now, 128 of you on YouTube. Guys, smash that like button for me. And if you were over on X, guys, highly recommend you come on over to YouTube. That is where you get to be a part of this giant, beautiful live chat community we have over here on YouTube. I think people don't get Vaughn enough credit for last season. He had a sack every game before he got suspended. And I really believe that through his season off of the rails. It's not even so much sacks. I think it was more about his pressures were certainly impressive. As Sean McDermott suggested during his press conference, his season was a hell of a lot better than the year before. I can tell you that. Like, it was a far cry from 2023 to 2024. I'm not anticipating Vaughn to go out there at the ripe age of 35, 36 years old and put up 10 plus sacks for us next year because, again, we're handcuffed to this guy. All we can do is just hope that he takes a reasonable pay cut and we can get some sort of production from him. But that's kind of like where I'm at. Keep Steve Smith Sr. away from... Dude, I know. Who saw that? Who saw that, man? Steve Smith. Hide your wives, ladies and gentlemen. Hide your wives. Less than 30, not acceptable. All right, listen, guys, do me a favor. Easiest way to support what I'm doing over here is just smash that like button for me. It takes less than a second. Maybe you're watching on your cell phone right now. Sometimes the live chat hides the like button. Just go on ahead, just minimize that momentarily. Smash that thumbs up and then we will be having a wonderful time. I like Montrell Johnson Jr. from Florida on day 3, round 6 at running back. If James Cook gets traded, I don't think he's going to get traded, man. I really think that we're going to be able to find a contract that is lathered up with guarantees, and he's going to be happy. And I don't think that it's going to be around $15 million average annual salary. I really, really don't. How are you today, Eric Brown? I am doing wonderful, my friend. It's Monday, very productive day. I am about to be live on the AFC East Roundtable with my boys over on the AFC East Roundtable channel. I hope that you guys go ahead and tune on in, because we are going to be doing a mock draft and really talking about some first-round targets. I think this is going to be fun. Grab Grant in first round and any speedy wide receiver in free agency. Chewy, he likes Kenneth Grant, which I do not blame you. He is an absolute stud. And then you said any speedy wide receiver in free agency. He would like that. Devontae Adams, Billy, man, listen, I'll tell you what. We saw that he was the betting favorite for the Buffalo Bills to land in free agency, which is insane. I'm good on that because we have some holes that need to be filled that are higher priority for me, right? Like my highest priority right now would be interior defensive tackle, then edge rusher, then corner, then safety, then wide receiver is kind of where my list of priorities are. Dan Simmons, I don't know his trade value, but absolute monster. Could you get him for a second or a later pick? He's getting up there in age, right? He's about 30, I want to say 30, 31. I don't think that he would be going for a second. I want to even say that Simmons, hold on. I'm not going to tell you guys incorrect information. Let me see. Let me see what we got here. Let me go ahead and double check something real fast before I tell you guys any information. He signed a deal, right? And they have a potential out on his contract. Yeah, dude. I don't know if they would do that. And so I'd be shocked. I'd be very, very shocked. But Simmons is only 27. That's right. That's right. I made the mistake of thinking about that one safety we were talking about. Skip me. Skip you. What do you mean? Bills for life. Who's going to be that surprise pick in the first round this year that nobody thought would get taken that high? It's going to be Jackson Dart, if I'm a gambling man. It's going to be Jackson Dart. Yeah, but as far as Simmons is concerned, defensive tackle. Sorry about that, guys. Was confusing him with the safety, right? And that I thought you were discussing. Excuse me. Justin Simmons was who I was confusing him for, because that's been a couple of targets people have been looking for as well. But no, I really don't think that we're going to be hitting free agency for a one tech. I think that we're really going to be looking for the draft at this point, because that's really all we've done is just going ahead and just bring in a one tech like vet. Like, so we did it with Star Lutulele, and then we did it. So with our current situation, but spent offseason as free agent. Okay, yeah. Simmons, safety, is a free agent too, but that's a conversation for a different time. All right, guys, 635 of you in here, 135 on YouTube, 496 on X. I do want to remind everybody that I am about to be live over on the AFC East Roundtable for another edition of the AFC East Roundtable. So do me a favor, head on over there, show some love. We are doing a full mock draft, a first-round mock draft, where all of us are going to discuss the prospects that we will be looking for. I love each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for your continued support of what I am doing over here on the Dan Mitchell channel. Smash that like button for me. Let's pump this up to 150 likes, including replays. And then I will see you over on the AFC East show. And then I will see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Love y'all.